Hello and welcome to Wednesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. Oh dear, I think my voice might be going. That is not a good sign because this puzzle on the screen is meant to be quite difficult. It has a 100% the perfect approval rating on Logic Masters, and many of you have recommended it, but it comes with fair warning. Apparently it is jolly difficult. It's called Yin Yang Killer Deconstruction 9x9, which is a bit of a mouthful, and it's by Christounet. I love Christounet's puzzles. I don't feel like I've done one for ages, so I'm looking forward to having a go at this. You'll notice, if you're eagle-eyed, that, in fact, why is it called 9x9 when this is clearly not a 9x9 grid? I don't know. I don't know. Has whoever put this in the software made a mistake? I don't know. That's clearly not a 9x9 grid. It's presumably 11x11, is it? Yeah, it's 11x11. Oh well. These things are sent to baffle us, and I will be baffled momentarily when I read you the rules of this one. Oh, what do I have to tell you about before we kick off today? I've got quite a few birthdays to do, but just before that, over on Patreon, we've got all sorts of extra stuff at the moment. We've got Sandra and Nala's Fog of War Sudoku pack, which is a free gift to the community. So go over there and download it and have a playthrough. That's been getting rave reviews, of course. That only came out yesterday. We've got our own Sudoku competition, which has still got 10 days to run, which is the James Bond theme Sudoku hunt. So have a look at that. And there's all sorts of extra videos as well, including my Islands of Insight playthrough. That's a good point. I may be able to do some more Islands of Insight in the next few days. I'm not sure. I do have quite a lot of stuff going on around the channel at the moment. And I'm going to have quite a lot of golf to watch over the next few days as well, with the Masters coming up in Augusta. Now, what else? Anyway, well, that's one thing. Let's move on to birthdays and other announcements. So we'll start off with a good luck message to Karen Pelletier, who has moved in to a new apartment, and your friends in the Thursday afternoon planning your friends on the Thursday afternoon planning committee meeting wanted to send you their best wishes, Karen. Thursday. It sounds a bit like a Richard Osman novel, the Thursday afternoon planning committee meeting. What was his book called? Thursday. Was it the Thursday Afternoon Murder Club or something? I don't know. Anyway, Karen, I hope your move is going as well as it can do. Stressful times moving house or moving apartments. And I can tell you, once it's happened and you get settled in, you'll start to feel a sense of calm. Now, birthdays. There are, I don't know what it is, some days of the year just seem to attract puzzly people. We'll start with Enya, who's turned 19 down there in Oz. Your friend Grace wrote to us, and I was astonished, Enya, to hear that you have written a musical called The Cryptid. Is it called Cryptid Crossword? And that's being performed next month. Isn't that fantastic? Or send us a clip once it happens. I would be most interested to know what that is about. So Enya's musical down there in Australia. Many happy returns on your 19th birthday. Next, Lottie, I just missed announcing you yesterday. I got the message from your boyfriend Ryan a smidge too late. No, and it wasn't his fault, it was my fault. And I know you've just started to watch the channel, and apparently you don't even know the secret yet. Well, are we going to have a secret today? Might do. I haven't studied the rules of this one long enough to know whether we're going to have to avail ourselves of a secret or not. You might learn a secret today. Oh yeah, and you're the lucky one, having two birthday cakes, 2 chocolate cakes. There's one, which looks very good, and there's another. It's like a hobbit having 2 breakfasts, 2 chocolate cakes. Lottie, enjoy your birthday. Next, Julian, from your wife Kelly over there in Mount, is that Uniacke? Is that how that's pronounced in Canada? I hope I'm saying that properly. Your wife Kelly it could be Julien, I guess, I'm not sure, says you're a wonderful husband and she's very lucky to have you, which is a nice message, I think, to get on any day, but especially on your birthday. Next to Cassandra, who's turned 23 today and has been watching since the start of the pandemic over there in Switzerland, the land of chocolate indeed. Cassandra, happy birthday. Charlie, it's your birthday today, and I know this because your wife Katrina wrote and said you'd appreciate a shout out. And then Fritzdis, the constructor. I think we've done several Fritzdis puzzles on the channel. Your friend Brian, whom I gather you're visiting in California this week, thought you might like a shout out, and I wish you a very pleasant visit with chocolate cake, of course. And then finally Heidi has turned the big 50 today. And I know this because your husband Axel wrote, Heidi. And Heidi, I have to say, I would like to be at dinners at your house, because apparently Heidi sometimes shares stories about our videos at the family dinner table. That's absolute quality. Heidi, thank you for doing that, and many happy returns. And with all that said and done, let us do some solving and have a look at Yin Yang Killer Deconstruction 9x9 by Christounet. These are the rules. I mean, the rules start somewhat crazily. They say normal Sudoku deconstruction. It doesn't even say rules, it just says apply. But thankfully there is then a paragraph of explanation. So it says fill the grid with 9 non-overlapping 3x3 square regions, such that each region contains the digits 1 to 9 once each, and no digit repeats in any row or column. Cells outside regions do not contain digits. So this, I mean, that is standard deconstruction rules. So we're going to have to work out where to position the sort of 3x3 boxes in this puzzle. And there's going to be 9 of them, and each one of them has the digits 1 to 9. But if we say put a 1 here, then we couldn't put a 1 again in this row. And then say this cell, or say these cells weren't in boxes, they were sort of, they'd have nothing in them at all. So that's so far so normal, sort of. Then it says yin yang. The whole 11 by 11 grid must form a valid yin yang grid, that is, so i.e. shade some cells such that all shaded cells are orthogonally connected, all unshaded cells are orthogonally connected, and no 2x2 area is fully shaded or fully unshaded. So I'm going to do my standard massive E shape here, which is going to be an even more massive E shape or comb shape than usual. Look, there we go. So this is a potential yin-yang shading, which would be, I think, valid in the sense that you can see all of the dark green cells there share an edge with one another. We can connect to all the whole part of this. We can connect along cells that share an edge. So that means they're orthogonally connected. Now imagine we suddenly did that. This green one is not orthogonally connected to the rest of its friends. It only touches them at a point on the diagonal. So this one, that would not count. That would not be a good way to do it. No 2x2. You can see all the blue ones are also connected. And if we look, I don't think there's a 2x2 in this grid that's fully one colour. So this would be a valid yin-yang shading. And that's something we're going to have to do. And then finally it says, let's just restart. It says killer cages. Digits in a cage must not repeat. And the number in the top left corner indicates either the sum of the digits of the shaded cells or the sum of the digits of the unshaded cells contained within that cage. Now this is craziness. So let's find a cage. Let's look at this 24 cage. So what that means is, in fact 24 is too big a number for it. Maybe we should pick one with a smaller number. Let's pick this 10 cage. So this cage is going to have some sort of shading, which could be anything. It could be speckled shading. It could be something like that. And then we'd have to decide one of the colours would have to have a sum. The sum of the digits in that colour would have to sum to 10. So imagine this was 1 and this was 2. Green could not sum to 10, so these two would have to sum to 10, and they could be something like 4 and 6. I think is how this works. Now, Christounet has been kind enough to provide a an example grid for a sort of 1 to 4. So you can see there are red 2x2s here, each of which is containing the digits 1, 2, 3 and 4. And if we look at the top left box, there's a 5 cage there, and you can see that the 2 green cells do sum to 5. Yeah, so I can see in each cage there's a 6 cage here that's sort of this shape. And you can see the 2 grey cells in that sum to 6. And no row column contains a repeated digit. It's a fascinating idea, this. It's a bit mad, I think, and it's meant to be quite hard. So do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual, but now I get to play. Let's get cracking. Now, I suppose I'm going to just start this video by downloading secrets. There are loads of secrets I know about these types of puzzles. We'll start with Yin Yang. The Yin Yang rules mean that you cannot have a checkerboard pattern in the puzzle. So this is not a valid shading, and that's because we have to make sure that all the green cells are orthogonally connected in the end. And however we then did that, if there was a checkerboard, let's say we join them up that way, you can see this one's become isolated. It cannot now orthogonally connect to the purple, which is also a requirement. So there's no checkerboards in Yin Yang. The other thing in Yin Yang is that the perimeter, it can be all one colour like that. That's possible. Or it could have a stretch of the other colour. But what it can't then do, having become 2-coloured like this, it can't become 3-coloured, because it's sort of like an exploded checkerboard now. If we introduce another break in the colour, to connect this colour, this green on the left, to the green on the right, it doesn't matter what path we take, how that looks. It must happen for the rules to be obeyed, but now we're going to isolate the 2 purples from one another. So what that means is that we have to be careful with how many changes of colour there are around the perimeter. Now let's move and turn our attention to the deconstruction rules. So we have to put 9 3x3 boxes in this puzzle. Now what that means is, and I only know these things by the way because I've done so many puzzles in the past, this is not me being intelligent at all. These cells are definitely going to contain digits in this puzzle. And the reason for this is a rather pretty application of the pigeonhole principle. So we know that we have to put 9 3x3 boxes in this puzzle. And I invite you to try and place a 3x3 box in this puzzle without overlapping one of these green squares. And just by inspection you can see that is impossible. There is nowhere you could place a 3x3 box in this grid that didn't overlap one of these green cells, and indeed only one of these green cells. Because if you overlap this one, for example, even if you try and stretch as far as you can, you won't quite meet any of the others. So when we position our first 3x3 box in here, wherever we put it, we're going to overlap exactly one of these green cells. But we have 9 such boxes to place. So each box that we place is going to overlap exactly one of these green cells, and therefore each one of these is going to have to be part of a different 3x3 box in the puzzle. Now, what then do we do from there, and how are we going to do this? Because I'm going to have to have 2 colours for shading. Normally when I do these puzzles, I try and, when I get a 3x3 box, say I knew that was a 3x3 box, I would colour it like this, but that's not going to work here, is it? Because I have to do the yin yang shading as well. So what I might do is, maybe we could have a little letter or something to indicate. Yeah, I know, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to letters. I'm just going to write N into those squares to say that they contain a number. And then I can get rid of the colour. Like that. So I know that each of these... see, that's interesting. It's true to say that they contain a number. But I was just thinking immediately about that 14. I was thinking, okay, so that has to contribute to the 14 total. That's not true at all. Because that could be in the colour that doesn't add to 14. If there's two colours in that 14 cage, and N is a 1, say, and these two are in a different colour and they add up to 14, that's totally possible. So this might be nothing to do with the 14 total. We've also got, and this is a secret I can share with Lottie. So I'm going to do that. Lottie, it's your birthday and you don't know the secret. I'm going to share the secret with you. Now the secret is, this is true for any Sudoku, or most normal Sudokus anyway, that have the digits 1 to 9 in them. The digits 1 to 9 sum to 45. Now, I think it said in the rules that digits in a cage must not repeat. Right. So this massive cage here, let's just colour that in for a second. That must take, it must have one of each digit in order that it sums to 45. Yeah, that's true. That's very odd as well. So, because this one, this is an important point, I think. This one, I know it can have two colours. It's not such an important point. There's going to be 9. This enormous cage here is going to contain exactly 9 digits. 9 different, and those digits will all be different, such that the cage sums to 45. And those digits will all be in one colour. Because we can't repeat a digit in a cage, I can't put 2 1s in the cage and have them in different colours, for example. That's just against the rules. So there are 9 digits in the 45 cage, somehow disposed, all one colour, so that those will total 45. But then the digits, or the cells, and there must be cells in this cage that are not digited, could be in any colour, I think, from a yin yang perspective. Okay, so that's very complicated then. No, I don't. I was about to say, do I know that's a 1? But no, I don't. Because if the 1 in this cage is in a different colour to this cell, then that could be the counting 1. There must be a 1 in that cage. That's true. I mean, is that worth notating? We've got another big cage in the perimeter here that's got 1 in it. Yeah, that's interesting, I think. So that must mean... Yeah, okay. I think that means there's got to be a change of colour in this cage. Yeah, I mean, if all of that cage was one colour, then wherever the 1 is in the cage, it's broken, isn't it? If I put a 1 there, that's going to be part of a 3 by 3. So some of the digits above and below it. Some of the digits above and below it will be in the same colour as the 1, and therefore should contribute to the count of the cage. Now, I was just thinking there, what about if we jammed... What about if we did that? No, that doesn't work, does it? Because... Well, when I say it doesn't work... I mean, it doesn't work. And it... no, that could never be the shading here. That's really weird. Because here, again, I then have a decision to make. Where do I put the 1 in this column? And wherever I put it, it's broken, I think. Because if I put it here, this must be part of a 3 by 3. So at least these 3 squares are going to have digits in, and possibly those 3. And that cell's definitely digited and can't be a 0. Yeah, okay. I'm not sure actually what I can say about this cage, other than it has a change of colour in it somewhere. And I suspect that change of colour, I'm not sure what I'm about to say is true, but I suspect the change of colour comes either early in the cage or late in the cage. That could be wrong. Yeah, see, that's making me think there can't be that many boxes that touch this column. Because I could have like a 3 by 3 box there, for example. Let's just make that a 3 by 3 box and put a 1 here. And then in terms of colouring, I could make... oh no, that doesn't work. That's actually impossible. That's very odd. You can't put the 1 in the middle of the 3 by 3. I think that's right, isn't it? Let's ignore the colouring for a moment. Let's say that this... how am I going to do this? Let's do this with the line tool. Let's say that was a 3 by 3 box. Then I know the 1 is a counting digit in this column. And if I colour it, I then have to decide what colour this is. Well, this can't possibly now be... oh, I see. Maybe the whole perimeter. Ah, I hadn't thought of that. Maybe that is what we're being told. No, that doesn't work in this column. Ah, okay. Right. Okay. So I think what we're actually being told is not that. There must be a change of colour in there. That's true. How is there not a change of colour in here as well? There can only be one 1 in this column. By the rules, we're not allowed to repeat a digit. So the 2 that's counting in this column is effectively, it has exactly the same. There's going to be a 2 in this cage. And that is the only counting digit that can occur in this cage. So again, there must be a change of colour. Because otherwise, the 3 by 3 that the 2 is part of will overlap with at least 2 squares in this cage. And if there was no change of colour, that would mean that you were adding 2 to another digit to get to the cage total, which is 2 plus another digit. Here is a knowledge bomb, is more than 2. So there is a change of colour here, and there is a change of colour here. Now, at the start, we said in the perimeter, it's only possible for there to be 2 changes of colour in the perimeter, in effect. So there is no change of colour, therefore, in row 1 or in column 11. Column 11? Row 11. So I think these might have to be different colours. Yeah, they're going to have to be different colours, aren't they? So now we have to make a decision as to what colour we make things. And I don't know what we're going to use for that. I might use grey, and I might use green, light green. That's my classic yin yang colours, so I might use that if that's all right. So let me just definitely convince myself that's true. Yeah, because there's going to be a change of colour here, where grey becomes green somewhere. Interestingly, though, you don't know whether the 1 is in grey or green, because the 1 could be low down or high up, which is weird. But how could... Yeah, this can't be green, because if that's green, I have to connect that. Given we've got grey up here, I have to connect this green to here, and then I've got to. So I have to completely monocolour this one thing. So that's actually quite an important shading. And the reason I say that is that now this cell, because I have to avoid a 2 by 2, that has to be green, light green, look. So that must be the same in the other direction. If this is grey, the whole thing turns grey. Yeah, that's nice. So that's got to be grey. And that logic must work in column 11 as well, in this exactly the same way. So we can do that and that and that straight away. And then this is really weird. It's a really weird puzzle, because although I've done that, I don't actually know anything, I don't think, about where to put 3 by 3 boxes. So let me just think about this now. So now, if this was green, all of those would be green. And the only place you could put a 2 then that would possibly work is here. So that would be a 2. Yeah, that's fine, I think. I think that works. And then this would be a digit for sure, but it would be a green digit, so it wouldn't contribute towards the count of 2. Right. So, what do we do now? There must be something going on with that 24 cage. That seems to be the next interesting thing I can see. And the reason I think that must be important is because I can't have more than 3 counting digits in this cage in any one colour. My phone's just buzzing. What's that about? That is nothing important. Because these two are different colours, the maximum number of cells I can get to add up to 24 is 3. In fact, I can see how this cage works, because 24, given that we're only adding 3 numbers to get 24, they must be 7, 8 and 9. And if that means if we had 3 greys, look, these would all be grey, and that'd have a 2 by 2 of grey. So the only way this can work is if we have all green, and these squares are 7, 8 and 9, and that's our first actual deduction. Right, and the interesting thing about that deduction is because this is, well, it could be part of 2 3 by 3s like this, but every digit here must have a digit below it in the 3 by 3 box that the cell above it belongs to. So we can write n into these squares for sure. Yeah, okay. Now, so I literally don't know whether that's in or not. I know these are definitely digits, but I don't know what colour digits they are. This is mad. I've got to get to 25 in this. Well, okay, so this cage is interesting. This is counting grey digits. Yeah, this might be where we're meant to look next. I can't make both of those grey, because if both of these are grey, that's a 2 by 2. So the maximum number of grey cells that could contribute to the 25 total is exactly 4. So there must be 4, because we can't get to 25 in only 3 cells without repeating a digit, and we're not allowed to do that. So what does that mean? So one of these is grey, one of these is green. And the highest value that grey digit can have now is 6, which means the minimum value of these squares is 19. That's very interesting, is it? But do I... here's another... okay, here is a good point. Is it possible that any one of these 3 squares is not a number? No, because if I say put a 3 by 3 here, so only these 2 counted, because I need to get 4 counting grey cells at least in here. If I'm not going to take one of these, I have to have both of these, which is impossible because that's going to create a 2 by 2 of grey. So actually, all 3 of these can be marked with our new colour of N. Now that means these are all N. It means these are N. Now I'm not saying this is a 3 by 3 box, because the 3 by 3 box could be there and another 3 by 3 box could be here, but that is at least true. So there's N in all of that 10 cage. Okay. All right, so what does that mean? I think that's doing something with this 20 cage. I just haven't quite got it clear in my head. Yeah. I don't think this 20 cage can be adding green digits. Because even if I was to make all of these squares green, the maximum those green squares could be in row 2 is 6, 5 and 4, which only add up to 15. So this is counting grey digits. And to get to a total of 20, we must be counting at least 3 grey digits, because 9 and 8 only add up to 17. So that means this is lovely. This is absolutely lovely. So that means that these squares here must contain at least 2 grey squares, but they can't contain 3 grey squares because that would create 2 by 2s. So those 2 have to be grey. To avoid a 2 by 2, we put a green in the middle. That green has to get out and connect to its friends. These definitely have to be, all 3 of these have to count. They have to count because we need to get to a total of... Well, in fact, this is better than that. Not only do they have to count, but I know what they are, because the maximum size of those 2 squares is 6 and 5, and therefore that, in order to get to 20, must be a 9. So that is a 9. These squares here are 5 and 6. Now, those 2 have to be end, definitely. Now, I really want that to be end as well, but I'm not sure. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I don't see how. If that's not part of a region, that suggests this is the start of a 3 by 3. So that would be some sort of 3 by 3, and then this couldn't be part of a 3 by 3. So that's definitely a digit. And oh, right, this is fine. Okay, so now I've got 9 digits in row 2, so I can't have any more digits in row 2. So in fact, I now can draw some boundaries. I love this. This is absolutely brilliant. So I can do that, and that means this is legitimate. This is legitimate. This is legitimate. This is part of a region. This 9. So it must be part of that region, mustn't it? Oh, that looks like the puzzle does a little bounce when you do that. Look, is that me? I don't know. That seems to be bouncing. So we know that these are definitely N. But yeah, this is tricky actually, because that's true, and therefore that is our first actual. No, and this one as well. We also know this one is a region, don't we? That's definitely true. So there's nothing in here. So probably we might have to, maybe we do that or something where there's no digits. So there's no digits here. But I don't know whether there's no digits there, because that 24 doesn't contribute to the count. I'm not sure how to do that. So I'm going to change tack then and do easier things. This square has to be green, or I've got a 2 by 2 here. But I needed 4 greys, so that's got to be grey. Look at these two now. These are isolated, so they've got to get out of their cul-de-sacs because they've got to go and connect to all their green friends. So now I don't know what to do. That's the long and short of it. Now I don't know what to do. Sorry if this is obvious. I'm not seeing anything yet. Oh, that's a little interesting point. By sudoku, where's the 9 in this row? It's not there and it's not here, so it's in one of those, which means that it could be a 9 and a 1 though, couldn't it? There's no reason we can't put 1 in there. I don't think there's a reason anyway. Oh no, right. No, the point here is not that at all. The point here is, how do you now get to 25 with 4 cells if you can't use 9? And the answer to that is 8, 7, 6 and 4, I think. I think that is the only way of doing that. I know 8, 7, 6 add to 21. So there's no other way that we're going to be able to do that. Now that digit is a naked single 4, because it can't be 6, 7 or 8, which means these squares are 6, 7 and 8. Which means these 3 squares are now 1, 2 and 3. I quite like this n idea. It doesn't seem to be as dreadful as I feared. Now I've got a bit of a problem with this cage, I think. This cage here, which is a 24 cage, is not summing greys. Because imagine that I made all of those grey, which is the most greys I could include. The problem is none of those digits can be a 9, because this 9 sees the entirety of that cage, so we couldn't get to 24. So this cage is adding, well, it's still a bit of a, well, this must be 4 greens, it must be. Because if it was only 3 greens, again, I still couldn't get to 24 because I can't use 9. So this whole thing is great. That's really nice. This is very... Oh, look, those two now have to be grey to avoid 2 by 2s. I suspect this is quite forced if I really think about it, but let me just try and do simpler stuff first. What's that number? That's a number that's greater than 4, but not 7, 8, 9, and not 5, which is in one of those squares. Ooh. I feel like that's now saying that this is a 159 triple, but I'm not sure. I'm just going to think about this some more. This is not 5. It's greater than 4, so it must be 6. I think that's all that can be. But I don't know its colour, which is absolutely perverse. These two squares now are a maximum of 5 and 4, which is 9. Well, yes, okay, so that's got to be a number. This square must be a number, because there's no way we can get to 14 with just these two numbers, because these are definitely part of this. This one's 3 by 3, whether it's that or that. So that's a number. We don't know whether we're adding all of those up, or just some subset of them. I want to just come back to this. Now, I now know that if this was green, this 10 cage would be adding these 3 digits, 2 of which are 5 and 9, and 5 and 9 are already 14, they're more than 10. The other digit couldn't be -4. So that square, I'm going to claim, has to be grey. And this is really interesting. No jokes about me at parties, thank you. This is really interesting. It's actually really, really interesting. Because doesn't that have to be 5 now? Because if I put 5 in one of those, the other digit that sums to 10 with it would have to be a 5. So I think that has to be 5. Therefore, these are not 5, but do include the 9. So these digits have to be, you've guessed it, a 1-9 pair. Now, these squares are not 1, which means this is 1. And look, I've got to avoid a checkerboard here, so that's got to be grey. So this 10 cage is probably going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, I suspect, made up of fully greys, with this being a 4, this being a 1, 2, 3 triple. I mean, that's not forced, I just think that's what it's going to be. Right, so okay, let's have a think about this 24 cage again now. Because, well, we know, one thing we know is that this is an n, don't we? Because if that's not an n, these don't add up to enough. So that's me being bad at pencil marking. That is an n. Now, whatever 3x3 box this is a part of, all those have to be in that 3x3 box. So this is all n. Now, yeah, these 2 digits here, or these 3 digits, have to include 7 and 8 by Sudoku. So 2 of these digits add up to 15. And the other digits have to add up to 9 without being 8, 1 or 2, 7. So they're either 3, 6 or 4, 5. And therefore that digit we can say is 5 or 6. And this is either, let's actually pencil mark it fully, it's 7, 8 and 3 or 4. Which means 2 is definitely up there in box 2. Okay, and that's quite interesting now, I think, for this row. Because these 2 cells have to include a 2 now. Oh no, that's not useful. That's annoying. Oh, well, hang on, what's the other digit they include? It's 3 or 4. That might be more useful. Right, let's just get rid of that. They definitely include 2. And the other digit is 3 or 4. And it doesn't matter now. This is beautiful. These are all grey, I think. That's where my brain has just taken me there on a little journey. I hope that's right. And the reason I think that must be true is, obviously, to get to 14, you can't just include this digit, whatever it is. So we need at least one of these two to join with this to get to 14. But if I only join one of these, even if it was a 4, this would have to be a 10. So both of these must be in the count and the same colour. And they can't be green because that's going to create a 2x2. So they have to be grey. We've got to avoid a checkerboard there, so that's got to be grey. This has to be grey. Avoid a 2x2, that's got to be green. This green has to get out, so that's got to be green. Oh, my phone is buzzing at me. Do I know that number? No. I've been getting a lot of calls recently. It's like I've got put on a list. I don't recognise that number. Anyway, what was I thinking about? So these 3 add up to... Well, so this digit I know something... Oh, hang on. Let me go back to grey. I wanted to get rid of the number. Because 2 is in the count, the other 2 digits must add up to 12. And so they're either 3, 9 or 4, 8. So that is 8 or 9. I don't think either of those can be, or actually neither of those can be a 1 by sudoku. I was going to say neither of these can be a 1 by dint of the fact that the 1 would be in grey and couldn't be the only grey number. Yeah, this has to be grey. Oh, this is good. This is good for a different reason. But this has to be grey, because imagine it wasn't. Whoa. If this was green, that would mean all of these were green. But now where am I putting the 1 in the 1 cage? I can't put it anywhere, because it can't go in these 2 squares by sudoku. So it's going to be in somewhere down here, in green. And the only... actually no, I'm wrong. I thought of a way this could work. If this was a 1, and it was... yeah, here's... oh, no, because these aren't digits. No, it doesn't work. I was suddenly thinking I could make those 2 digits, but they can't be part of a 3 by 3, because that might have... I misunderstood what my red line meant. These are not digits. Okay, so this cannot be green, because to be part of a 3 by 3, well, if it's green, all these are green, there would have to be a 3 by 3 somewhere down here, and it would have more than 1 green digit in it. So that cannot work, so that has to be grey, which means this has to be green, which was the thing I saw, because now this 4 total, both of these must count towards it, which means these must be a 1-3 pair. And now I think this digit has to be in the puzzle, because if it wasn't, that would be a 3 by 3, and this square couldn't be part of a 3 by 3, so that's definitely... let's go to my letters. That's got to be in the puzzle. Now, well, hang on. Now I've got even more problems with this being... all I'm thinking now is that the fact I've got a 1 in one of those 2 squares, if this is green, all of these are green, and now none of those squares, if we try and put a 1 in any of these, we can't, because they would be part of a 3 by 3 that already includes a 1. So these could not be digits that had a 1 in. So the 1 would be in green down here somewhere. But however I position the 3 by 3 that the 1 was part of, there would be at least 2 digits in green. So that doesn't work. So that's also grey. I suspect this might have to be grey as well. Let me just think about that. If that's green, it's the same argument, isn't it? I think. What about if I did that and I made this a 1? Does that work? That might work actually, because that 1 would be the only grey 1 in this column. Yeah, okay, so I'm wrong. So I can't also make this grey, I don't think. You have to be very careful with this. It'd be very easy to make an error. So now where do we look? How long have I had? 49 minutes? How can I have had 49 minutes? I've only just started. Ridiculous. Oh dear. Well, can I do the same thing on this side then? If this can't be a digit, how could it no, it definitely cannot be green. Because if that's green, the whole column turns green. And wherever I position the 2 in this column is going to be part of more than 1 green cell. So that's definitely grey. which means this green has to get out. But isn't that going to keep going? Or no, maybe that's wrong. If this was green, all of these would be green. Where would you put the 2? You couldn't put it anywhere. So that does have to be grey. Which means this has to be green. But now, again, if this was now green, oh I see, then maybe that can be the 2. Yeah, that could work. So if that's green and all those turn green, but that's a digit and it's a 2, then this would be a 3 by 3. And that might work. Okay, so it doesn't iterate everywhere, but it iterates a bit. Wow, okay. So, now, what on earth do we do? I have not got a Scooby-Doo. Ah, okay, I've got something. This is not that's not capable of being a 3 by 3 because that 8, 9 would be in the same 3 by 3 as a 7, 8, 9 triple. We'd have a repeated digit, and that's quite useful. So that tells us this does go up there. In fact, I might as well. I was going to put my ends in. I think I will put the ends in. Oh, why won't it let me do that? And that means that this. That's definitely bouncing up and down. That is now a 3 by 3. That's interesting. So this one now has to have a digit beneath it. But we don't know whether this goes here or it goes there. Well, we probably do know somehow, but I don't know. These digits, let's actually pencil mark those, I think. Because they must either be, they definitely include 2 and they include 1 of 3 and 4. So these digits definitely include 1 and 5 and 3 or 4. And that's not 1 or 3 actually. So that's just 4 or 5. Right. So, oh dear. What do we do now? I have not got a Scooby-Doo. I've got a 23 cage down here that's enormous and goes squiggling round the southwest corner of the grid. No, it's not even true. I was going to say probably that means that green is the counting colour in it, but there's no reason really for thinking that, because we could still have quite a lot of greys. Sorry, if you can see what I need to do, well done. I can't see it at all. It's not. It makes me think I've not understood some aspect of either this column or this column. Maybe I can actually position the 1 in this column and know its colour somehow. Sorry, I realise I've stopped talking as well. I'm just trying to... Didn't I look at this before? How can that be green? That's green. All of those turn green. That just feels wrong to me. Because where in this world am I putting the 1 in this column? Given I can't put it in these, I can't put it there, because then that's a 3 by 3. So I have to put it. I have to put it. Oh yeah, was it? Oh, it was that. That was the 3 by 3. So that's ruled out now. That's ruled out by the fact that we worked out that this one extends upwards. Okay, so the logic, that's really clever. So the logic is, you have to be very careful, and we had to extend this box upwards, but that allows us to rethink what we thought, the thing that we were thinking about before in column 1. So now I'm going to claim this can't be green, because if this is green, all of those are green, and where on earth am I putting the 1 in column 1? The only place that would be in any way sensible is here, but that can't exist because there's already a 1 in this box. So that is grey. Now, can I keep going with this? If that is green, all of those are green. If all of those are green, where am I putting the 1 now? It can't go here, can't go here, can't go here. So the earliest it could go in the column would be here. And it would be part of a 3 by 3 that would include more greens. That does not work. This is weird. So actually, we also get a grey there. But I think that might be as far as we can take it, because now this could be green. I'm not sure actually, maybe we could take it this one as well. If that's green, that can't be a 1, because I can't draw that in. So if I drew a 1 here, it would be part of this region. So that would have to be the 1. And that means this couldn't be in a region. And that's not a possible region to draw. So I think that's also legitimate to say, actually, that's also grey. But now it does change. Because if that was a 3 by 3, it could have a 3 by 3 above it there or there. Although that's interesting. If it was there, then the 1 would have to go here in green. Oh no, it would have to go there in green. Oh, I'm not sure where it would go. Maybe there in green even. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's definitely grey. So now that one is not 1 coloured, because if that's grey, it's isolating this domino, and if it's green, it's making a 2 by 2. So this is 2 coloured. That's interesting. So this 16 is a 7-9 pair in some orientation, which is right. Ooh. Okay, this is probably where we're meant to look now, because the counting digits in this 16 cage are 7 and 9, and they cannot be those 2 squares, because that's going to create 4 digits in column 3 that are all selected from just 3 different digits. That would necessitate a repeated digit. So that means this digit is a 7 or a 9 for sure, but I don't think I know its colour. One of these is a 7 or a 9. I don't really have a good way of pencil marking that. If it was that one, these 2 would have to be green, because if they were grey, again, this is blocked in. If it was this one, then I'm not, and then I'm less sure I'd know the colours. Okay, but here's another interesting point that falls out from that. Because there is a 7 or a 9 in one of those, I'm just going to make that pencil mark for a moment. It's a bit dodgy, but I'm going to make it, because in this column now, neither of these two squares can be 7 or 9. And that means that this is not capable of being a 2-coloured 16 cage. So this is a 3-coloured. All 3 of these are the same. That feels like it matters. I don't know. I'm just going to stare at it for a second. So if this is grey, then that would be green. That looks possible. That looks fine. If this is green, then that's grey. That's grey. If that's grey, that would be grey. That would be green. That would be green. I don't know. I'm not sure I can tell which way around that goes, I'm afraid. Wow. So, okay, so what do we do with that? I know these are all this. So maybe I have to colour. I'll make these a different colour. The interesting thing about that is that that square is now the opposite of this, because that's like a triominoid. So to avoid a 2 by 2, this is the opposite. So if these were green, so if these were grey, that would be green. I was trying to think about whether I could use checkerboard logic to colour this one in, but I don't think I can. Okay, what do I do now? What on earth do we do now? It's a strange puzzle because I have no idea. I really have no idea where I'm meant to look next. I'm sort of looking over the grid saying, well, do I know anything about anything? And thinking, no, frankly, I don't. I don't know. Is there... I have no idea. This is so strange. Do I know all of those are digits. That's another point that is definitely true, actually. So we should certainly label that up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay, that's it. Right, brilliant. Look at column 3 now. And that's really interesting because I think I've got 9 digits in those squares, so I can't have any more digits, which is going to enable me to draw this and that in as boundaries. And now, so this bottom bit of the grid here doesn't contain any sort of, that hasn't got any digits in it. So we can't have any more digits in column 2. And once you can't have digits in this domino, you obviously can't have digits to the left of it because they can't be part of a 3 by 3. Now these 2 digits have become digits. But okay, does that have to be a... no, it doesn't, does it? I was thinking, does this have to be a 1? But that's not how this works. If that's not 1, but in the colour that doesn't count, I mean that digit is not a 1. I suppose that is definitely true. There is a 1 in one of those 3 squares. But we don't know, do we? If all of those were in, they would all be 1 colour. So then we would know that the 1 in... the 1 would have to be in one of those squares. I've got a horrible feeling I've broken the puzzle, actually. I can't see how I'm going to put a 1 into this cage. Let me just show you what I'm seeing there. If these are digits, let's put n in. Hang on, how do I do that? N. Obviously, none of these can be a 1, because, well, for many reasons. There's a 1, 3 in their 3x3 box. That's one reason. The other reason is if one of these is a 1, it's contributing towards the 1 count, but so would the other grey cells. So this doesn't work at all. So now we would know, if we do this, we now know that the counting digit in this column is a green digit. But that's not a digit. This can't be a 1, so that's not a digit. So that has to be a green 1, and that's a digit, which must be part of this 3x3. And that's going to mean this is green and a digit, which is not 1, but counting. And that doesn't work. Alright, so what we're actually learning is that this is not, it's not possible that this cage comes into this column, which is actually, that's quite a lovely deduction. We're now learning that, oh, maybe this is why it's called 9 by, maybe it's called 9 by 9, because we're just going to get a 9 by 9 in the grid. Is that what I'm being told in the instructions? Oh no. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that the 9 3x3 regions we draw are a sort of normal Sudoku square 9 by 9. It doesn't say that in the instructions. Well, I mean, this is great though. This is great because now we know none of these are digits. So, but we have to have some digits in this box somewhere. So these must be digits. It's the only place we can have digits. So now we know. So this is directly disproving what I was then worried about. So this is now a box, definitely. And now we should. I think this is telling us. Well, it's telling us that's definitely not a 1. That's the first thing it's telling us, because then we couldn't put a 1 in one of those squares, and there must be a 1 in one of these squares. Now, I think this might be able to be a 1. We know this is not a 1. So this can't be grey, because if all three of these are the same colour, the 1 will be accompanied with other things that count. Now, if this is grey, then we can't be counting grey, we'd be counting green, and green couldn't be a 1, so that doesn't work. So this is green. The counting digit is a 1 that's there. Because this can't be a counting 1, because that would also count. This is so, it's really clever actually. It's a bit head-wrecking, but it's very clever. So now this column works, believe it or not. And it doesn't matter what we put in these two squares, because they're not going to count. Right, but now... this is great now. This is great now, because how can purple be green? Because if purple's green, we know that blue is grey, and I've got a checkerboard. So purple is grey. In case you were worried about that, which means blue is green, which means that's got to be grey to avoid, that's got to be grey to avoid a 2x2, that's got to be grey to avoid a checkerboard here, that's got to be green to avoid a 2x2, that's got to be grey to avoid a 2x2, that's got to be grey to avoid a checkerboard, that's got to be green to avoid a 2x2. Oh, that was really lovely for a moment. Now this is good. Right, now that's green to avoid a 2x2. Now, does that... We know that these are different colours, one of which is a 7 or a 9 that partners up with this. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm meant to know the answer to that. Can't tell. Okay, but we can probably... no. Okay, I'm changing my mind. This one cage here, we know that this is a digit. So if grey was the counting colour, and this can't be a 1. That couldn't work. So grey is not the counting colour. Green must be the counting colour, which means this must be green, and it must be, you've guessed it, a 1. There we go, there's a deduction. Oh, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything in the column. Nah. Right. Okay, so I was going to think about these two squares, which can't be 7, 8 or 9. So the maximum value of those two squares is 5 and 6, which is 11. Which means this square is at least a 5, but 5 won't work. Because if this is 5, these can't add up to 11 anymore, because 5, 6 is not available as an option. If this is 6, these have to... I know 6 doesn't work for the same reason. If that's 6, these have to add up to 10 without using 6, 7, 8 or 9. So this is a... Right, this is good. This is a 7, 8 or 9, and we might be able to do better than that, but that is true. So if it's 7... these two squares could be 3, 6 or 4, 5. That's weird. Okay, so all the stress comes off if this is at least 7. And it is. So one of these is a 3. That seems to be true by Sudoku. Oh. Okay, so this 23 cage here, quite a lot of this cage is not filled with anything of interest. We've got one of each colour here, none of which can be higher than a 6. So we could have a 6 here, contributing to the counting colour in the 23 cage. These are not digits down here. That one might be a digit. So if all of those were digits... Oh, no, that's okay, isn't it? Then loads of this becomes digited. And we can quite easily get to totals that are interesting. Okay, so that's annoying, sorry. I mean, okay. How could this be like that? Then the 23 cage is impossible, because it would have... Oh no, maybe it's not. No, it is impossible. Because that would also be forced, and none of these squares would have digits in them. So that means that this must be in, which means this must be in. So those are digits now. And I suspect the bottom row as well, but I'm not certain. Okay. 2, 4. 2, 4, 5, 6. Here's a point. Where's 6 in box 4? What I'm calling box 4. It's got to go in here. With the digit that's 7 or 9. So these squares are 6, 7 or 9, and these squares are now known. They're 2, 4, 5. And that digit is not 5 or 4. So this is 1 or 3. So this 6 is interesting now. It could just be a 6, couldn't it? Oh, let's avoid a checkerboard there. That's got to be green. Don't know what that means. Possibly nothing. I mean, if that was green, that's quite interesting, isn't it? If that's green, how do I make the 6 total? Oh, no, I could. Oh, that's rotten. Oh, I've thought of a way. If that's green, but then this is empty and doesn't have digits in it. That works. Oh, that's horrible. That is horrible. Okay. Actually, how can that be a digit? This can't be a digit, can it? Because if that's a digit, that's a 3 by 3, and these two squares, which must be available in order, yeah, because that takes out too much of the bottom. So that is a red, I don't really know how to do it. It's a red circle or something. That's not a digit. So let's go through this again then. So if that was the 3 by 3, then to get to 6, we could have those two counting, which would have to be a 2-4 pair. This can't be a 2 or a 4, because it sees a 2, 4, 5 triple. So this would no, that doesn't work. I don't think this square can be part of a 3 by 3. It's quite complicated, but imagine that was a 3 by 3 where I've got the cursor now. It's the 6 cage I'm worried about. Now, because 2, 4 and 5 do not equal 6, we're either making this green and adding it to these two, but we can't repeat a digit in the cage, so they'd have to be a 1, 2, 3 triple, and we can't put 1 into any of them, so that doesn't work. So this has to be a domino that adds to 6, but this square can't be 2, 4, 1 or 5, so there is no way, because you can't double 3 this. So this digit, right, so this is also, both of those are not in a cage. But now that must be a digit. It must actually be a digit, because, and we, no, I was going to say we must count this one as well, but that's not true, because this could be a 6. And if it's a 6 on its own, then this could be the opposite colour, but that is a digit. That seems to be true. I'm not saying it's part of this cage. It might be in this world, which would probably be the most useful thing. But we're either in that world. Oh, this is huge. This is huge. Okay, we are in this world, because to not be in this world, however I draw the bottom thing, or let me show you. If I draw that line in, then that would be a 3 by 3. And this thing can't be part of a 3 by 3 at all. So we can't be in that world. So this is all part of one 3 by 3. And now having got this one out of that 3 by 3, we know its parameters, if you like. It has to look like that. So now we can do that. We now can do that. This those have to be in. We don't know whether it's this one or this one, but we get a lot of extra firepower there. Look, we can do that, that, this. Oh no, I didn't mean to do that. Whoopsie. I want to, let's restore some order to the world. We can do this. Okay. Alright, but is that good or bad? I don't know. I think it is good, but I think it's good for somewhere we haven't really thought about, which must be these two digits. Because if we look now at the 23 cage and see how many counting digits there are in it that have numbers in at all, there are only 4, I think. And these two are of a different colour. So that one of these that's a 3 cannot be part of the 23 total, because the other 2 digits would have to add up to 20. So these 2 digits must be the same colour and they can't be green. So these must both be grey. They can't be green because it would make a 2 by 2. So the grey digit here is counting, which means this must be a 3. This must be a 6, because it can't be 7, 8 or 9. And this must be an 8, 9 pair. And somehow that doesn't do anything. I don't think. Oh, hang on, no. Why have I got 3? I've got 2 3s now in this column. So whatever I've done here is absolute nonsense. Let's go back. Because I definitely haven't used this 3. That 3 pencil mark is absolutely bogus, isn't it? So I've got 7, 8, 9, 1, 3. So I've got 2, 4, 5 and 6 to place. So these are from, let's actually just pencil mark them. 2, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, but it collapses to a similar point, although I don't think I know the nature of the other digit. These still have to be double grey. They still actually have to be an 8, 9 pair, because it can't be more than 8 and 9, and we can't have more than a 6 in grey here. So we still have 6 here. This is not 6. But we don't get an extra digit here, unfortunately. So, all right, okay. Well, I'm going to resort to nefarious activities known as sudoku. Let me show you what I'm going to do now. So this is a common trick that comes up in deconstruction puzzles. It's sort of a set trick. So look at these 3 boxes together. Now, do we know exactly what the digits are in those 3 boxes? And the answer is yes, we do. Because there's going to be 3 sets of the digits 1 to 9 by Sudoku, isn't there? There's going to be 1 to 9 once in there, 1 to 9 once in there, and 1 to 9 once in there. So altogether 3 sets of the digits 1 to 9. Well, what's this column got in it? Well, that's 1 set of the digits 1 to 9. What's this column got in it? That's the second set of the digits 1 to 9. So the difference between these 3, which are 3 sets of the digits 1 to 9, and these 2 columns, which are 2 sets of the digits 1 to 9, is these 9 cells. So these 9 cells must be the third set of the digits 1 to 9. Now, one of those is a 1, so that can't be another 1, or there would be 2 1s in that extra set. Okay, so now I've got a 2, 4 pair here, which means 2 and 4 add up to 6, so this has become an 8. This has become a 5 in the corner, that's become a 1. These don't include 3 anymore, so these don't include 4 anymore. So 3, 7 and 8 is 18, so this must be a 6. Bother, nearly, but not quite. Looks like this is going to be a 6 to me, but I haven't got that yet. I haven't got it certainly bottomed out anyway. That's now not 5 by Sudoku, so this is 2 or 4. Do I not? I don't know if I do get much more joy from that. Can we do anything? I probably have to label these up now, don't I? Let's do that then. And then we might think about more of the Sudoku jiggery pokery that I was just thinking about. So these squares are from 2, 3, 4 and 5. So the maximum value of those is 9. That would go with a 7 here. The minimum value is 5, which would go with an 11 here, which we can't have. But we could have 2, 7 going with a 9, so we don't really know. We know there's 3 and 5 down here. And the extra region? Yeah, okay, so these squares are from 7, 8 and 9, aren't they? Just to complete that, make sure we've got one of each digit in that extra region. Bother. Okay, I don't think that's good enough. I think we're going to need to do more jiggery pokery. Okay. Which is very easily said, but not easily done. By sudoku in this region, let's actually put all our ends in so that we know that we're dealing with full n-age. How are we going to do this? Is it Sudoku? Is it Yin Yang? Is it any number of other things that we're trying to understand? I haven't got a clue. Six is in one of those two squares. That seems to be true. A very underwhelming deduction. Oh, that's a 6 now. And that's a 5. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. Okay, that... Right, this digit now can't be a 6, and I thought that's how that 6 was going to work. Well, okay, alright, maybe it's not quite as bad as I thought. So what that's telling us is that in this 6 cage, which has only got 2 digits now that can count, neither of which can be a 6, they must be the same colour and add up to 6. So that must be light green, and this can't be 5 anymore, because that would require this to be a 1. So this is a 2 or a 4. And it's different from this, and there's a 2-4 pair now in that column. Golly, I mean, actually, it looks like it's trying to make us colour these 2s and 4s because they're all seeing each other. I might do that in a minute. Now, has that helped? 5 in box 8 is there. Okay. Oh no, I can't see it. Why can't I see it? I don't know. Sorry. I don't know what to do. Oh, that's a number in this 3 cage. Does that have to be a 3? No, probably not. That's definitely not a number. That doesn't mean that can't be a number. It's very... I think it's incredibly easy to make an error here. I really hope I haven't already made one. What do we think it's going to be then? Maybe yin yang? Maybe? Where is the deduction, the yin yang deduction that we're meant to make at this point? Is it something to do with the colouring of this 16 cage? I know this is one of each. So, if that was green and this was grey, I've got to avoid a checkerboard, so this would all be green. I don't think that's a problem. If that's grey and this is green, so all of those are green, I don't see why that's a problem. Oh, I was going to try that idea of colouring my 2s and 4s. I'm just going to have a look at that and see if that can help me. So I'll make that green. That means that's... Sorry, blue. That means that's blue. I'll make that one green just for the sake of... So that one's green. So this one must be green. That must be blue. Is this doing anything or not at all? It might not be doing anything. Do I know? Ah, yeah. Because by the mechanism of the 6 cage, I know these are different numbers. So that's got to be dark green. So that means that blue is one of these. I don't know, maybe that's not important, sorry. Okay, let's try a different tack. Let's pencil out these digits, which have to be 2, 3, 4, and no, not 5. 2, 3, 4, and 7, I think. Okay, so the 7 is definitely in one of those squares, so that's not 7. So, I mean, it's a tiny point, but we might as well. So in fact, 3 and 7 are definitely in those squares. So these digits... Oh, in fact, is that right? 3 is also there. Yeah. Okay, so that is 8. Well, that's worth having, isn't it? So now these two digits are restricted. They have to be from... One of them is a 1, I think. And the other is 2 or 4. I'm looking across thinking maybe that does something sudoku-y, but I'm not sure it does. One of these is definitely a 1. Okay, I know what it might be that we have to think about. Maybe we have to think about this 45 cage. Oof. We know the 45 cage. Let's just actually think about where that lives. We know it's got 9 digits in it. And we know all the digits in it are the same colour, don't we? Whoa. Okay, that's very, very hard to understand. How many digits have I got in it already? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 9 digits actually approximately placed in this, because this box either goes that way and takes those 2, and that will get me to a count of 9, or it goes that way and takes those 2, and that will get me to a count of 9. Right, that's huge. That's huge for this one. Yeah, this one can't come left, because if it comes left like that, it puts 3 more digits in my 45 cage, and once this goes left as a result, I've got more than 9 digits in it. So that one goes right, which means this is all thingy. Same might be true here. Yeah, we can't afford this one's box to enter this 45 cage. It cannot do that. So that's forced. That's forced. Lots of other so lots of other things are now not in the puzzle. All of this is not in the puzzle. Okay. I don't know. That's so strange, isn't it? Wow. Okay. Alright, so there is a deduction there, which is this 3 cage needs a digit in it, or 2 that add up to 3, and there's only 1 digit in it now, so that is a 3. There we go. Tiny deductions, but that is still worthwhile. Now, we don't know its colour. I don't think we do. I don't know what its colour is. You guys might, but if you could just jump in your DeLoreans and tell me, I'd appreciate it. Okay. Now, what on earth am I meant to do now? So the digits, so we've got this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. That is 7 digits, for sure. we've also either got these two or these two as our 9 digits. I can bingo. Right, it's not these two. This doesn't work. That's beautiful. That is such a clever deduction. Not by me, it's Christounet. Right, so imagine that this, let me just make these purple for a second. Imagine this, or these were the 9 cells in my 45 cage. They all have to be the same colour, because they all have to count, and we can't repeat a digit in the cage. Now, what colour are we going to make these? If these were green, this grey square is locked in to a cul-de-sac, that ring. And if it's grey, that's a 2 by 2 of grey. So that's impossible. Either way round, it's impossible. And that tells us where the 5 cage goes. Isn't that's my favourite deduction so far. That is so ridiculously clever. So now that is a cage. These become red and undigited is all we can say. They're undigited. So okay, I don't know what that means, but I know it's true. Right. Come on, Simon. Use your noggin. Figure out what's going on. I haven't got anything yet. 1, 2, 4, 7. 6, 5, 8, 9. Oh. So okay, I can do. No, I can't. That's not legitimate. What I was about to do. I was thinking, can I use the trick I used over on the left-hand side, but this time in these positions. So that's 3 sets of the digits 1 to 9, isn't it? And this is 2 sets of the digits 1 to 9, which means these squares have to be 1 set of the digits 1 to 9. Now you can see in that set, we've definitely got 1, 2, 4 and 6 for sure. That is true. So it might be worth pencil marking these digits, I think. So they can't be 1, 2, 4 or 6. So they can be 3, 5, 7, 8, 9 is what I'm going to claim. And they must include 5, because 5 is not an option for any of these squares. It doesn't seem to do anything. That's not 8 by Sudoku. Bother. That's really annoying. Can I do anything better than that? Somehow, some way? I don't know. Must be, okay, there must be a blue digit in this box. And blue is 2 or 4, so blue is in one of those 2 squares. I don't know which one, but that means that this green digit has to be up here in this box. I mean, my colouring's going crazy now. Which means this digit is not 1, 2 or 4 now. So let's pencil mark this digit in. It's not 1, 2, 4. It could maybe be 3. It can't be 5, which we know is over here. It can't be 6, 3, 7, 8 or 9. Okay, that's really not great. No, alright, so I don't know what to do with that deduction. Oh. I see, I already... Oh, that's problematic. Yeah, see I can't do that. I can't do that deduction, because that's interfering with my understanding of the yin-yang here. I was suddenly like, don't I know that this is grey? And I do, and I had it labelled as grey, but once I sort of start putting greens into these and then giving them a flash, things get very, very complicated. Okay, so maybe what I've got to do, let's just think about the panoply of digits now. It's those digits, aren't they? 5, that's 9 digits. So those digits are all one colour. Which is nearly very interesting, actually. Well, okay, what I'm seeing there is very complicated indeed. I'm saying it's very hard for that to be grey, but I don't think it's impossible. Although, good grief, that's complicated. Hang on. Okay, I don't quite know. Let me explain the point here. If purple was grey, this top, if we look at this region here, that is sort of an how am I going to do this? Okay, can you see that this region at the top, this lake of green, is penned in to the top because if purple is grey, how does it get out? Well, it'll have to come down here. And the weird thing is this pocket of green is also penned in now by grey, because these being grey creates a sort of virtual wall down here as well. So the only way that this green gets out, it's sort of got to go along there. It's got to come down here without... I think it's still okay, just... It's hard to visualize this, actually. Green, green, green. That's like that Everly Brothers. Dream, dream, dream. The time I met you. Da 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 da. Da 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 is green. That would be grey. I can see that one would be grey. So the green would be there. So that one would be grey. That one would be green. Right, that doesn't work. This doesn't work there, is what I'm going to claim, but I may well be wrong, because this is very complicated. I don't think purple can be grey, because if it is, I don't think I can fill this cell. Let me try and see if that's right. So let's make all of these grey. The wonderful thing about computer solving and Sven's software is that we're going to be able to unwind this if it turns out to be wrong, which I think it will. I don't think this works now because this green has to get out, so it's going to have to come down at least to here. But the other thing that we need to note is that this green and this green and this top green have to get out, and the only way they can get out is to come along this little passageway. And now you can see what's happening here is that lots of 2x2s are forming. This is a 2x2 that has to be avoided, and that means this green has to come up here, which means this has to turn grey. And now this hasn't got out, so it has to come out through here, and I don't think you can fill this square, and I'm right, because that would make, if this is grey, it makes a 2x2, if this is green, it makes a 2x2. That is very, very cool. That is very cool. So now going back to this point, we've now deduced that purple is green. And that means that's grey to avoid a 2x2. I mean, oh, that's... Ooh, okay, this one is isolated. So this one now has to get out. So that it's changing the colour. No, okay, so now the green has sort of got out. That one, that's all green, so that's become grey. Oh, I'm going to have to get rid of my colouring, I think. I think I've got to get rid of that blue colouring and the flash. So that square now is grey. It has to get out. Oh, this is going to be absolutely rotten if this is all this does. Because I don't think I've really learnt very much from this. I've done a bit more colouring, but it's not, unless I'm missing a trick, it's not done very much for us from a digited perspective. I mean, that one still seems to be completely ambiguous. Oh dear. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Can we do any better? I might have to go back through all of the deduction. Oh, that can't be a 5, I've just noticed. That is mildly interesting, because that does mean that 5 is now forming part of this 16 cage, which means the other two digits have to add up to 11, but that doesn't actually restrict the other one at all, because it could be 2, 9, 3, 8 or 4, 7. Bother. That digit's not 2 or 4 though. Well, it does see it. Oh, that digit's a 7 apparently. How long's that been there for? Okay, well that's good. So that digit I can colour. That's green. That's we sort of already knew that. That digit's now not 7. Now is that 7? Yeah, okay. Here is a tiny point. That 7 is in the Is it in the 45k? It's really hard to see. I think it is. I think these 3 digits in my brain were in the... Yeah, that's the 9 digits that are in the 45k. So I can now take 7 out of those 2, look. It's getting quite interesting. It's getting quite interesting, but we're not quite there yet, are we? When I say we're not quite there yet, we're not really anywhere near there yet. I mean, what? I suppose, is this legitimate, what I'm about to say? These 4 digits here definitely don't include... Well, let's think about what they don't include. They don't include 1. They don't include 3. So 3 must be one of those digits, which means that's not a 3. They might include 4 or 5. They include 6 and 7. They definitely don't include 8 or 9, do they? So 8 and 9 must be in those squares. So that square is also not 9. So this has come right down. This is 5 or 7 now. Now what do we want it to be? Don't know. If it was... I don't know what we want it to be, actually. I suppose the other thing I've got to bear in mind is I still haven't got the 2 positioned in this column. But I don't seem to know... I suppose I know that's not a 2. I know very little, I think, about 2s in these rows. This is going to be a very long video. I've just seen I'm an hour and 50 minutes into this. I feel that has flown past. Absolutely flown past. Right. Okay. So what does all this mean? Don't know. What could we do with this new knowledge? Don't know. Oh, I'm sorry if this is obvious as well. I fear it might be. I mean, it's hard though, because you're sort of playing Sudoku with all these squares, none of which naturally seem to see each other. Green has appeared. Yeah, hang on. So this box here needs to have a green digit in it. Where's that, given it can't repeat in this region? Surely it's there, isn't it? I think it is. I think that's forced. I think that's got to be green. So now, is that helpful? Maybe not. I think this square, which we may as well now pencil mark, is not 1, 2, 4, 5 or 6. So it is 3, 7, 8 or 9. But is that useful? Don't know. No, I don't know. Sorry. Well, hang on. Hang on, where's the 1? Where's the 1 in this 9 region? Oh, that's a very simple question. It's there. Ah. So what cut? So that's blue now. So there's a 2, 4 blue pair. That is a 1. Ah! So that's a 1 and that's a 3. So I can take 3 out of a couple of cells. That feels like it's interesting, doesn't it? Here's a good question. Where is this blue digit in... Oh, this is good. Yeah. Where is this blue digit in the 45 region? And I think it has to be there, weirdly. That seems to be the only cell. It's the only cell that it doesn't sort of see by almost normal Sudoku rules. So that is now blue. Which means that's a 5. So this is now not 5. So now... Yeah, so now we just keep going with this logic, don't we? So now we say, okay, where's 5 in the extra region, this 45 cage? It's there. That's 7. So this is not 7, this is an 8, 9 pair. 7 has appeared in it, thank goodness for that. So that's a 3. And now if we trace it through, we've got 1, 2, 4, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we've got all the digits. Now this square is now not 9. Okay. What does this do? I don't know. I don't know, but oh no, come on. Is this helping me with anything? That 10 cage? No, that's not 7. I don't know. Do we... Now this is awkward. This is awkward. I mean, are we being told somehow this is a 3? That would make that a region. That looks sort of okay, doesn't it? It doesn't have to. The problem with 7 here is that you could also do a 2 and a 1. Although the 1 would have to go there. And that would have to be a grey 1. And that would... No, that wouldn't have to be a 2. Because the 2 could be there if that's the 3 by 3. Golly gosh. Or the other option, which is quite interesting to consider, is that these two... Oh, that's it. Right, that's interesting. Okay, so let's imagine for a moment that grey is not the counting colour in this 10 cage. Well, then these two both have to be green, because you can't make 10 in one cell. And these can't both be green, because that's going to make a 2 by 2, so grey is counting. Whoa, that's weird. So grey is counting, which means... Well, there must be a grey in one of these, because otherwise this is double green and it's broken. Oh no, I'm wrong. No, it's the same point as before, isn't it? It's the same point as before, because that doesn't have to be a digit. I mean, I know grey is counting now. So if that is a digit, all of these are digits. And this digit would have to be a 2. Because it couldn't be a 3. Because these would both be digits and couldn't be grey, and they'd have to be green, and that would make it 2 by 2. So, if this is a digit, it's a 2. No, it's not a 2. There's a 2-4 pair in the row. Ah, well, this could be huge. I'm not sure I trust it, so I'm going to think about it again. 3, 5, 9. Yeah, this would be a 3 or a 9. So the point is, by Sudoku, if this is a digit, it has to be 3, because these have to count. Now these two definitely are in the puzzle as digits, because that's a 3 by 3. Neither of them can be grey, because we've already got to 10. They both have to be green, and that breaks the puzzle. So the upshot is this is not a digit, which means these are all... Well, it's quite interesting, because not only does it... Because these being effectively red now, not only pushes these to have to be a digit, but also the corollary of that is that those have to be digits now as well, which is a little bit interesting. Maybe not surprising, because we've got this 19 cage I've never even looked at here, which probably has to be all the same colour. So now this is not a digit. Well, this is okay, but this is interesting, because neither of these squares can be 3s. Oh, that's sick. That's so clever. What a thought this is. So now, how do we make the 10 total work? You can't just have one grey in here, because it would have to be a 3, and that wouldn't work. They can't put 3 in there. So this has to be double grey, and well, many things. Firstly, this has to be a 1-2 pair, and we know the order. So that's got to be 1, that's got to be 2. Now, the other thing that's weird about that is that we can draw in this box now, because we've got a sort of top left digit. Also, none of these can be a 2. So the change of colour cannot happen in this box. These all have to be grey. This green has to get out. That is right, isn't it? If we change the colour, the change of colour is what's going to cause the 2 to occur. It has to occur around the change of colour. Yeah, so if there was any green up here, we'd need the 2. Yeah, that is right. So this has to get out, so this has to be green. I know these 2 are digits, and I know sort of what they are. They're 4, 6s and 7s, aren't they? And no, I don't. Oh, well, I sort of do. These digits are 6, 7, 8s and 9s. Which feels a bit interesting. Okay, and we can presumably, yeah, here's the point. Here's the point that's the killer. Right, these 3 digits. So again, we can play this trick. That is 3 sets of the digits 1 to 9. That is 2 sets of the digits 1 to 9. So this is 1 set of the digits 1 to 9. Look at this top line. We know that they are the digits 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. So these have to be the digits 3, 5 and 9. That's all they can be, and that knocks 9 out of here. Oh, don't tell me that doesn't do anything. That's weird. That's absolutely bizarre. Okay. I don't know what to do with that. How? This is absolutely bizarre. Do I know what colour that is? Because if I know whether it's green or blue, then we're good to go, aren't we? Don't think I do. So, okay, so it must be something to do with where 2 is, I think, now. In this final column. Because the 2 has to occur, and it has to... We've now got digits in grey. So so the 2 is a green 2. Because we can't be counting grey cells in the cage. So could that be a 2? And then those be grey? Very much so. That's probably what happens, isn't it? This cannot be a 2. So that cannot be green. So that is grey. This, I think, might be able to be a bit... Well, no, hang on. If that's a 2, it's green to count, and this would also count because it's a digit. So that's not the 2. So this is the 2, and now that must be grey. That's so weird. Now I've got to avoid a checkerboard, so that's grey. Now I've got to avoid a 2 by 2, so that's green. Okay. Oh, this is gorgeous. And now the 19 cage is going to tell me where the final position is for my last 3 by 3, because these 2 can't add up to 19 on their own. I can't write 19 into that square, so that's a digit. And there we go. Wow. Wow. So now I can complete my reddening of the grid. Maybe I get rid of the reddening now, because I've sort of... I really want to focus on the yin yang. Although maybe I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's the best way to do this, frankly. But I know these are all digits now, and I know those 3 digits have to add up to 19. So, what does that mean? I know. Can that be a 1? I might be able to get the 1. I think. I need to put a 1 in this row, because it's a complete Sudoku row, and that can't be a 1. And if I put 1 there, that has to be double 9, which won't work. So I'm going to claim that's a 1 and get a free digit, all but. Now, I need 3, 5, 8, and 9 into these squares. So I'm going to now pencil mark these, 3, 5, 8, and 9. And hopefully this one will be forced somehow, some way. Well, no, is the short answer. Well, really not, actually. Everything I'm trying here is just working. Oh, bobbins. Oh, I mean, really bobbins. That's terrible. Okay, let's think about this then. Is there some other way that we're meant to approach this topic? Yeah, okay, so what we'll do now is we'll go back to our trusty trick. That is 2 complete columns. So actually, this needs to be a set of the digits 1 to 9. And look, I've got a 1 and 2 here. So that's finally useful. That means that's 3, that's 9, that's 2, that's 1. That 9 gives me an 8 there and a 9 there. That gives me... That gives me a 9 there and an 8 there. Is that good? Has that helped? It was exciting for a moment, wasn't it? Okay, so now... here's... That's a 6. So now I can take 6 out of these 2 squares as well. And there's 3 and 9 there, so that's become a 5. So that's not 5. That seems to have to be a 5. Yeah, I got 2, 3, 4 triple left down there. 6, 3, 9. So this square is 4. Oh, bobbins. 4, 7, or 8 is what it is, but it seems to be able to be all those things from the row. Okay. As we can't use 7 and 8 now in there. Not that I was particularly planning on it, but does that do anything? 8, 7, that would make 8, 6. Yeah, that can't be 8 anymore. Because if that's 8, that would put a 7 there. This would have to be 6. 8 and 6 is 14. This would have to be a 5, which is not available. So can we try that a different way then? 9, 3, 9, 3, 7 looks quite good. How is this square of 5? If this is 5, these have to add up to 14, and they can't. So that's not 5, and that's great. So 3, 9 pair I've now got now. But 3 and 9 add up to 12, and that becomes a 7 by mathematics. So that's an 8, that's an 8, that's a 7, that's a 4, and that's a 6, and that's a 7, and that's a 9, and that's a 6. I'm coming straight over here because this finally allows me to complete some shading. So we know the 9 and the 7 are the things that add up to 16. So that's become grey. Don't make a checkerboard, so that becomes green. Oh, come on. Really? Oh, that's a 9. Okay. Maybe we get some sudoku digits now. That's not 9. I don't believe it. And that is why I fail. Let's try 4 and 5 are a pair there, which I know the order of. Okay, so that's 5, that's 4, using the power of this. That is interesting, because now my green has become 2. Which means my blue must be 4, wherever that lives. And now this is 3, and that's 4. 4s are blue. 2s are now green. 4s are blue. 4s are blue. 2s are green. And we shouldn't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Are any of those clashing? I don't think so. I'm not certain, but I don't think so. Okay, so assuming that's correct, look, we can do some more Sudoku over here. We've done the sort of middle 3 boxes of the puzzle. So this is a 7. So that is no longer 7. So that's a 7. That's an 8. That's a 7. We've got this 8-9 pair that are sort of being recalcitrant. And in this row, that square, oh, it's not resolved. It's 8 or 9. And still the yin yang's not resolved as well. It's hard. It's so peculiar that I can be so close to finishing it and not be able to finish it. Like it. I still don't know what the colour of this 3 is. Okay, anyway, let's focus, let's turn our attention away from that and start thinking about other things. No, I was wondering if I knew more about the 45 cage from the fact I know where the digits are, but I don't think it's true to say that the digits that are not digits, or the cells that are not digits in the 45 cage, are all the other colour. That's just not true, is it? I don't think that's true. So I get a 3-9 pair here. I mean, this must be where I'm meant to look. It's the only cell I've not pencil marked. So that square seems to be able to be 3 or 6 only, which is a little bit disconcerting. Well, it can't be 3. Hang on, 6 only then. Oh, I'm going to check it again. 3, 6, 8, 9. Yeah, it's a naked single. That's only able to be 6. This can't be 5. Oh, there's a 16 cage. I've not even looked at this. Thank goodness. I was thinking, how do I do this? Right, so I'm going to have to come up with some disposition of these digits which allows colouring. If the 6 was the same colour as the 5, that doesn't work. I can see that straight away, because these would add up to 11, and we can't make these two add up to 5, and we can't make these two add up to 16, so that is a different colour. And that means that is grey. Oh no. That still doesn't tell me what this is. Am I going crazy? These can't add up to 10. So there's no way that the 6 is involved in the count here. So we're counting grey digits. So these two have to add up to 11, which means they must be 3 and 8. And they must be the same colour. So they're both grey. Don't make a checkerboard. Don't make a 2 by 2. This is 3. This is 8. This is 9. This is 3. This is 9. That's done the 9 and the 8. I don't like this. I don't think this is possible to resolve now. This green strip here. Yeah, that has to get out. That seems to be true. That might be big. That grey strip has to get out. Is that... look, yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. So the grey... I don't believe it. Yeah, that's it. If you focus at the bottom of the grid on the green cells. Now... they're there, aren't they? They are not connected yet, so that has to be green. And that connects the green up. Now let's check the grey is still connected. I think that grey is connected. Let's check the green is connected. Have I filled in a digit in every... I think I've... It's very hard to tell. It's very hard to tell. Let's see if it's right. No. Doesn't look right. Why? Oh, does it say it didn't include the solution? Oh, no. No, you rotten thing. You mean this... Oh, no. Why? Okay. That's bad. So it could well be right. But I'm going to have to now go off and spend some time studying this grid to see whether I think it's right or not. I'm looking at it and trying to spot the error. I haven't found an error yet. How can I mean, it's going to be brutal because I'm going to have to keep track of 1019, that does work. 16. This 2 thing works down here. It's the only, yeah, that works. I can't see a mistake. I mean, I felt like I did it logically. I really did. It's an incredible puzzle. Just a ridiculous puzzle. One of these ones that's absolutely absurd. But so brilliant. Some of the logic. That 45, was it the 45 cage? Where I worked out whichever direction it went in, it forced everything over. That was beautiful. And well, to be honest, the pièce de résistance is that the final cell of the puzzle is left ambiguous until you literally complete the whole of the shading. I mean, that's just total genius. But it should have had a solution in it. I can't believe it. I mean, imagine if I've got it wrong. Imagine if I turn off the webcam and I've got it wrong and I find an error. And this is just, you know, this will never be seen. 2 hours, 17 minutes of just... I don't know. I don't know what to say. I hope it's right. If it's right, we will create a version of this which will mark you when you submit your own solutions. It's a brilliant puzzle. I just hope I've got it right. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.